Hello, welcome to this episode of Escaping the Echo Chamber. I'm your host, Aaron Comey. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Wow, this week I found out something that I was wrong. I was so wrong. If you see, I'd done a video about the Amber Guyger, the Amber Guyger trial and the upcoming verdict. And based on what I was seeing, I was so sure that the verdict was going to be not guilty. And even after I did the video, things happened that made me convinced, okay, this is clear. This is obvious. The groundwork's being set. She's not getting convicted. I mean, from her testimony at trial, her trying to change the narrative around, she wishes he had killed her, even though that wasn't remotely in the options. There was never any threat of that. She was the only threat. To afterwards, them finding that the judge briefed the jury on the castle doctrine, which is a person can, protect their home from an invader, except how the hell does that apply when she's the invader? Like, that would apply if Botham Jean was on trial and she was dead, which, well, I just did exactly what, yeah, but like that didn't apply because that was never an option, because he didn't kill her. He never had a chance to kill her. He never had any intent to kill her, but she was the invader. So it boggled my mind how the castle doctrine can even apply when she is the invader. It's not perceived, the perception that you're in your own home. It's being in your own home. If you're in somebody else's home, the castle doctrine would apply to them. But that never happened. Botham Jean didn't try to kill her, didn't attempt to kill her, was no threat to her, even though she was the invader in his home. So, like, once I saw these kind of things happening, I said, okay, there's no way she's getting convicted. And I was wrong, which is a good thing. I was wrong. Yeah, she got convicted and I was shocked. Clearly, there were so many other people that were shocked. All the reactions I'm seeing, people just did not expect it. And that does in itself say so much about where we're at as a society. And how many people realize just, the government, if you're a member of the system, if you're a law enforcement agent, a politician, if you're involved, a prosecutor, judge, it's like there's a different set of rules. There's a different set of rules that apply to the people that run this and the people that are subject to this. And it blew so many people's minds. It blew my mind that she was actually convicted. Now, does that mean that, wow, we're in a new place in society and there's actually going to be justice equally meted out? No, this is one case. The makeup of the jury was particularly telling. And even though this happened, and it's a good thing, there's been so many other instances, and we can expect, unfortunately, that there will be so many other instances when there will be no accountability for the person, whether they're a cop, a prosecutor, a judge, especially a politician, especially if the person's a legislator. We can completely expect for the system to do what it does best and protect its own. That's the reality. That's not necessarily the reality we have to be content with, but that's the reality we have to acknowledge. And then start doing things to do something about it. But yeah, so that was clearly a huge deal, an unexpected turn of events. But then things got even more interesting. She got sentenced. because the sentencing phase went on, and she got 10 years, which is not a lot of time. And to a person who's never been in prison, 10 years is a lot of time. But 10 years is not a lot of time. Let me keep this in perspective. For a murder charge, for a charge of murder, 10 years is not a lot of time. There are people who are doing 10 years for marijuana, for weed. There are people who are doing 10 years or more than 10 years for possession of other narcotics, other drugs, and no violence. There are, I know of cases of people who've got decades because they allegedly sold drugs. They were convicted of selling drugs, and the person, somebody who took their drugs, died. There are people who are convicted of more time for bare possession of drugs. And then people who actually, because in the States, she's going to serve, maybe 5 years. But there are people who have been sentenced in the feds for 10 years for just possession of crack. Mandatory 5 years, mandatory 10 years, and just possession. No crime, no violence, really no victim, no crime. So that too, but no violence. And they're doing as much or more time for just possession of drugs. I mean, there are people who have been sentenced to more time without even being caught with drugs, merely because somebody is saying, yes, this is the person where I got my drugs from. And so that's one of the things I'm keeping in perspective. One of the things I notice is hey, I mean, I know first story where an individual spent 15 years in prison without ever being convicted. So in perspective, in comparison, it's not a significant, it's not an earth-shattering sentence. It's not significantly, it was a break. She caught a break on sentencing. For a murder charge, she definitely caught a break. But then a couple of things that happened additionally, including her treatment, specifically referring to her treatment, including the bailiff, brushing her hair with her hand. I've heard people saying she was checking for any kind of weapon or something she could commit suicide with, but that would be done before you get into the courtroom. Like seriously, that would be done before you get into the courtroom, if that's the case, or as you're being taken into custody. Because she was out on bond. Yeah, so that would have been done like as she was being taken into custody. But it goes further. The judge gave her a Bible, which I've heard of similar events in terms of judges giving advice and trying to motivate a defendant to turn their life around. But the hug for the judge to come and hug the defendant is crazy. And it's not just the hug, I should say the hugs. But the judge's hug in itself is an issue of, judge, you're supposed to be doing certain things, and hugging the defendant. That definitely seems like treatment not every defendant is afforded, a level of compassion that is not provided for every defendant. So that's why it raises eyebrows. It does, and it should, because if you're not showing this type of compassion to all defendants, then why this one? And even though I don't necessarily think that hugs should be the type of compassion, I mean, if you really want to be compassionate, stop locking people in cages, particularly when we're dealing with nonviolent crimes. Particularly when we're dealing with instances of things that the government doesn't really have business legislating anyway. But the biggest hug of all is Botham Jean's brother getting off of the stand to hug Amber Guyger. And I've heard people say this is a beautiful thing. This is so magnificent. Ted Cruz, Nikki Haley, just, it's so beautiful. And I get I can get a perspective where you're saying, to see that level of forgiveness, to see that level of willingness to, I can see in some aspects it being a touching moment, but I can see in some aspects, a different perspective. And I don't like that particular, I think that was a bad move. He's his brother. He can choose to grieve however he wants to. But in terms of the broader impacts, I think it sends a very bad message and does more harm than good. The message being that, we'll get over it. Because particularly when it comes to Black lives, particularly when it comes to Black people being killed, Black people being victims of crime, Black people being victims of the system, there's a tendency, we've already seen a tendency from the system to minimize that. We don't need to help minimizing that. Like, you don't need to minimize it by like, okay, I feel so sorry for her because she's about to be held accountable for what she did. Like, that's what one of the things, that's why I have such an issue with it, because it has broader implications of there's white people who are like, like she needs to be punished, like she needs to be held accountable. There are white people who are furious that she only got 10 years. And so for his brother to step up and say, oh, I feel so sorry for her. You feel sorry for her? Your brother's dead. He's not coming back. Your family is deprived of your brother. That's it. It's over. Your family will never see your brother again. And so to take in that moment, this isn't about her, but you made it about her. This is about your brother's murder. You made it about her feelings. That was mind-boggling. That does not seem intelligent. That does not seem productive. And like I said, it lends to increase the likelihood and the tendency of people to minimize, Black lives and the impact upon Black lives of things like, what the system does, systematic injustices, murders. There's already this trend that exists of this expectation that Black people should be satisfied with something that no other group is willing to tolerate. Black people should be willing to accept conditions that nobody else wants for themselves. So for him to get up and then make this about, oh, she's so upset, let me hug her, like, because that's what it was. You're hugging her, like hugging your mother because she lost a son. That's what you should have been doing. Like hugging the woman that murdered your brother because she's upset that she's going to prison. Like, no, that was absurd. That was absurd. And so I really think that he shouldn't have done that. But like I said, this is my opinion. And I don't think that was a good thing. I don't think that was a beneficial thing. And like I said, I think it has the tendency to be used by by many people who don't care about Black lives, to people who may care, but like who are saying this. Like I said, the white people who are upset about this whole situation and like, wait a minute. Like, I want to, like, I'm upset that this black man was killed in his apartment by this cop, and I want her to be punished, but I can't be more outraged than the family. Like, so like, you're telling everybody, calm down. It's over. Don't worry about it. It's cool. No, it's not cool. It's not cool. Please stop doing that. And back to, the Ted Cruzes and the Nikki Haley's, who are like, this is such a beautiful moment. Some individual on Facebook was responding to Robert Patillo, talking about how his position on it is a hate-filled position. And she's like, oh, what he did was so Christ-like. You should embrace Jesus, and what would Jesus do? And she's a Trump supporter, and I'm like, whoa, tell that to your boy. Next time he lashes out at the squad, next time he lashes out at the presidential candidates, next time he lashes out at Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, next time he lashes out at the media, tell him to be more Christ-like. Tell him to what would Jesus do? Same thing, especially for the Ted Cruzes and Nikki Haley's. You'll back this dude. Is it beautiful when he's just berating people instead of showing that compassion, that love? No, that's when they say, oh, he's attacked. How's he supposed to react? Okay. So how's it a beautiful thing when this man's brother was murdered and he reacts by hugging the murderer? Y'all should be like, no, he should be reacting with anger. Y'all should want the same thing for him. So I needed to get that out, because there's, like I said, there's this different expectation when it comes to things that negatively affect black people, and this expectation that we're supposed to just be cool with it, get over it, whereas other people will never accept this for themselves as individuals or as a community. So if people are targeting other groups, nobody's going to say, oh, we just get over it, let's just leave it alone, that was no big deal. No, that's not how any other group reacts. So why should black people be expected to react with such? And it's just unintelligent. It's because it's not intelligent to react to being targeted, to being murdered, to being oppressed. It's not intelligent to react to that with oh well. Thank you for checking out this video. And like I said, as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time.